Good evening, everyone. I would just add real quick too for Gloria and Gary, U.S. Attorney Alex Ubaez, he was actually very instrumental in the development of VIP, the VIP partnership between the DA's office and the city and the police department and probation parole. We actually went to New York together, John Jay, when we were looking at bringing VIP here. So as far as the weekly GBIS meetings and really the formation of VIP, he was very instrumental in it. So I'll just point that out too. And Mike, the deputy commander that you're talking about for the podcast will be Jason Janopoulos, who goes out and does custom notifications, VIP custom notifications with Angel Garcia. So that being said, I'm going to, if it's okay with everyone, I'm going to just provide the last 30 days of crime stats specifically for the Southeast and some trends. I'm going to try to keep that short because what I also want to do is I want to take this time with especially all the attendees and panelists to present the initiatives and operations that we here are doing in the Southeast. And I think that's important because, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, one of the, I don't want to say duties of the Southeast CPC is to the CPC and the community here in the Southeast is to provide feedback on those initiatives, ideas, anywhere, anything that we may be missing or anywhere that we can get better, or if we need to do some tweaks or adjustments. I think that's important. So real quick, as far as crime statistics, last month we had 854 incidents compared to this reporting period that I'm going to present to you now. We had about 1,009, which is historically, I can tell you, I worked here, when I graduated the police academy in the Southeast. Whenever it gets warmer with the increased traffic, it does get busier. And historically, that's always been the case. So we are going to be seeing an increase in incidents. The way we've broken down the incidents, we have our crimes against persons, which is our violent crimes. We had a total of 463 crimes against person incidents. Aggravated assaults and batteries, of course, is our highest category. As the chief reported earlier, I am glad that we have seen a reduction in our robberies because the beginning portion of this year, we did have an increase in robberies. So I'm glad that we're trending in the right direction. The next major crime categories are property crimes, which include like our auto thefts and our burglaries, larcenies and crimes such as that. We had a total of 406 of those incidents. Specifically for the Southeast, I look at the crime trends, and what we really had to focus on, because we saw a big increase in robberies, and then on the property crime side was auto thefts. We had a rough few weeks at the beginning of the year with auto thefts. We were at a 20, I think the highest was possibly, I think it was 24% increase. And that increase is compared to that same time last year. So we're doing like a year-to-year comparison. Right now, we've brought that down to 9% compared to last year. So again, we're trending in the right direction. The week before last, I want to say we were at like 40. This last week, we cut that down to 22. So we are trending in the right direction for auto theft. And then the other crime categories is more of the misdemeanor disorderly conduct center, DWIs. We had about 140 incidents. So that's all the incidents that equal that 1,009 incidents for the last 30 days. Our use of force reporting, we had a total of 17 for this time period. We had 7 level 1 uses of force, 8 level 2 uses of force, and 2 level 3 uses of force. And again, the level 1 uses of force, these are use of force investigations that are completed by the Southeast Chain of Command, and then we have our Internal Affairs Force Division that conducts the investigations into the level 2s and 3s. The level 2s and 3s, all the use of force investigations conducted by IAFD, or let me back up, I shouldn't say all of them, but there is a portion or a sample, and then I do know that all of the tactical activations are given to the Force Review Board, where they do make determinations if the tactical activations or the uses of force were in department policy or if they were out of department policy. So those are just the highlights specifically for the Southeast. Some of the trends that we are seeing, and I know Chief is speaking for the entire city, what he said earlier about crime being the number one issue. Obviously, you can see with the amount of incidents that we have, crime is the top priority. A trend that we are seeing here, specific to our area command, though, is the unhoused population, the encampments, the homeless. That has been coming up more and more, especially now with the increased traffic, with it getting warmer. A lot of the residents and a lot of the businesses, that's a trending priority for the community members here in the Southeast. And this goes to a question, I believe, that came from the homeless, the unhoused and homeless camp down west towards the university. I would really like to just urge everyone to report it. Call 311 if you do see an encampment and report that. It does not go unaddressed. Unfortunately, we can't be everywhere at once, so it is added to a list. But from a 30,000-foot view, APD we can't solve the unhoused problem. It's a combination of a lot of different stakeholders and city departments. So every week, even twice a week, 3 times a week sometimes, we meet and we have a meeting with the new Albuquerque Community Safety Division or Department, Solid Waste, Parks and Rec, to where these locations, and we're working through the list of where these encampments are. Again, it's not a crime to be homeless, but I think it's fair to say it can lead to criminal activity, and that's where police, we do have to be involved. That's our job as law enforcement. So we have a role within this encampment task force that we put together. But if it's just straight, an encampment issue where there's not that, confirmed criminal activity, there is a process in place to include giving them notification if it's on city property or if it's on private property, to give them notice. We have ACS responding as well to help with providing resources for those that are willing to seek help. ACS even has the capabilities of transport. And then, of course, if it does lead into criminal activity, that's where we're there to, of course, to provide that enforcement, whether if it's a citation or someone has a warrant and we have to take them to jail. So I hope that answers that question. The initiatives that we're doing specifically here in the Southeast, we have 4 major operational initiatives that are going on. The first one is a high crime hotspot project, to where we're on a weekly basis, we're looking at what crime is up and down. Like I said earlier, for a good period of time, it was our robberies and it was our auto thefts, and of course our aggravated batteries and assaults. So we're looking at the data, and we're looking at the repeat locations and the hotspots of where these crimes are occurring. And we have a squad from each watch, so our day shift, our swing shift, and our graveyard, assigned to this specific initiative. So when they have the opportunity in between calls for service, they know that their mission is to conduct that proactive enforcement for this hotspot high crime operation that we're conducting. The second one that we're doing is what we call a Ddax. It's traffic enforcement. That's the focus of it, to where we're looking at where the crimes occurring. And what we've noticed, and this has been since I've gotten over here, since last October, a lot of the hotspots seem to come off of Gibson, Central, and Lomas. So as a matter of reducing violent crime and property crimes, we want our officers out there conducting traffic enforcement. And a lot of times these traffic stops will lead to search warrants being conducted on vehicles, because in plain sight, they can see burglary tools or they see evidence of crimes. There's warrants that these individuals need to be taken on. So we've gotten some good results, and I'd like to think that we've disrupted future burglaries or robberies from taking place, because we were able to stop that individual and get them off the streets. Throughout the entire area command, since Ddax is focused on conducting those traffic stops. It may not be like violent crime activity, but we all know, unfortunately, how reckless driving can lead to fatalities and deaths and serious injury. So we've been working with the neighborhood associations to identify drag racing spots, or just those thoroughfares where we just have a lot of speeding, to get the word out that we're working on reducing that speeding and those drag racing issues. Talking with some of the stakeholders and residents down in the residential Nob Hill, we just launched a traffic sting. It's going to go on for the next 3 months, to where we have our bike officers who are assigned to Nob Hill. They're going to be doing strict traffic enforcement every day on the one-ways, on lead and coal. Other traffic issues that have been, from our communication with the neighborhood associations along Constitution and Indian School as well. So that's our second major initiative, our high crime hotspot, our Ddax, which is traffic. The third one is our international district, where we have a specific team of just proactive officers that aren't necessarily tied to calls for service, our PRT officers that work the international district. And I've said this before, it's not that it's a competition, but this team conducts more felony arrests and clears more felony warrants than any other team in the city. That's how much work that they're doing 7 days a week. We are fortunate enough to split them up to where we have that 7 day a week coverage. But besides just this strict enforcement going after the prolific, offenders, we balance that though. Looking at the needs of maybe those underlying issues of why people are committing these crimes, whether if it's, a lack of opportunity for employment, or, the bills are due and, they have to resort to what they have to make ends meet. We balance that with our outreach that we conduct. So we have our PRT officers that also conducts outreach on a weekly basis. They've teamed up with Endorphin Power and the Justice and Peace Center, the Good Samaritan societies. We've worked with them to get some funding. We were able to, let me bring up the numbers. We were able to make contact with about 1,600 people. We were able to give about 1,300 lunches, also hygiene kits and gloves, especially when it was cold, and socks. And so there's a lot of good outreach that these officers are doing when they encounter someone that, there's a need to improve their quality of living. And we're all about that, because if we can improve their quality of living, could that equal crime reduction? Yes, it can, and it will. So all of the stakeholders, and Gloria, I don't mean to call you out. I just talked to Gloria earlier in the day, seeing that the work and the mission of what the DA's office is doing. We're going to partner up with them, and we look forward to it, making sure that everyone's on the same page to accomplish the goal, which is to increase our quality of living and to reduce that crime. Our last major initiative, our last one of the four, looking at the Gibson Health Hub that's coming online, is providing that Gibson Public Safety District. I shouldn't say providing, but what APD's role is going to be within that public safety district. So we're in the process of figuring out how we allocate our resources and our coverage, and how we can accomplish that, our specific APD specific role for the overall public safety district. I've said this before I know some of the neighborhood associations that are going to be encompassed within that, that we wanted to launch a business coalition for the businesses along that Gibson corridor. Next week, we've had a lot of good ideas and brainstorm sessions. Next week, we're going to start that. We'll be able to go out and make contact with those businesses. And basically, it's there to give them a voice, to where if there are issues or things on the city side that may not have been thought of, or it hasn't been addressed, or if it's just straight out been ignored, we at APD, we may not have the ability or the authority to change it, but we can definitely help, advocate to the right people, to make sure that it wasn't overlooked, and if it is, a decision is made against that, you know, to at least get the reasons why and to kind of be that go-between. But I think it's important that the businesses along that Gibson corridor have a voice as well. So we're pretty excited that we're going to be able to start that next week. So those are just the 4 initiatives that we have going right now. And again, Mike, I'm so glad that these are recorded. I'd love to get feedback, you know, whether if it's positive feedback, negative feedback, if we need to make changes, that's what we're here for. We really do our best to be a data intelligence, you know, smart policing, to look at the data and to use that to figure out what we're going to do. But it's just my opinion. I don't think reports can tell us everything. It's important that we actually have that interaction with the residents that live here, the business owners that work here, to figure out if there's something that, you know, if there's a gap that needs to be addressed. So with that, I don't know if there's a Q&A for me, Mike. I mean, if there's any questions that I can answer.
Kelly, do you see anything there that Commander should address?
Well, the main thing is just with a possible change in statistics and the way they're calculated and presented on the meetings, but I think we can probably work on that in private. That's about it.
And you know, I got a couple of private messages, if I could take 2 more minutes. One is APD ensuring that they are conducting these higher enforcement activities without perpetuating the disparities people of color experience when interacting with the public safety apparatus. You know what? I definitely think that it's going to come down to education as well. I'm going to use the New Mexico Black Leadership Council as an example. We've had about 4 meetings with them. This last one, as the chief talked about earlier, was just the other day. It was just yesterday, where we met with them and we explained what the armored vehicle that the SWAT team uses, and then the conversation, a lot of other questions came up, you know, and at the end of it, basically what was the consensus was, we at APD, we need to do a better job of educating. You know, when you paint that full picture, then there's that understanding of, oh, okay, I understand why you deploy like this or why your policies say that. So the best way to answer that question is we need to be able to meet those specific communities, whether if it's the Black community, the Asian community, I mean, we have such a diverse community here in the Southeast. We need to start that conversation. And if it's on us to provide that education, if it's on us to open our ears and to hear their perspective and their feedback, and then we need to take that information and act on it and utilize that to help us determine what our future plans needs to be. So I hope that answers that. And one last one, the question about our partnership with the Community Safety Division or Department. You know, it's a great partnership. Every single time that we have needed their assistance, they're on it. They really are. They don't have 24-hour coverage. They're working towards that. So when it comes to funding, I'd like you to hear it from me. I am all for it. They provide such good support for us. A lot of these issues, I mean, yes, if it ends in crime, obviously law enforcement is involved, but if there can be that disruption or that intervention before it reaches crime, that's great. That's music to my ears, because that's less crime for us. So if we can really help, you know, meet those individuals where they're at in their life and help them improve their quality of living with what resources that they need, you know, I'm all for it. Like I said, if I can be a cheerleader for them to get more funding, I'm all for it. So it's a great relationship. They're very receptive to our needs when we identify, hey, there's an encampment over here off of Tennessee and Central. They really do help us out.
Okay. Sandra Perea has a question. She says, are statistics being kept for the homeless people encountered through various programs, APD, who are refusing services?
I'm sorry. You know what? My computer cut out. Can you repeat that one more time, Kelly? I'm sorry.
Uh, are statistics being kept for the homeless people encountered through various APD programs who are refusing services?
Um, and I can't speak for the entire department, but what I think it's important is to remember that several different city departments are going to have their hand in this, and we all need to track our involvement. To give you an example, the amount of encampment cleanups. Obviously, APD we don't do the cleanups. We don't throw anything away. It's going to be solid waste. So yes, solid waste does track that. They have a number, or they keep track of the number of encampments and the amount and weight of what's being, I guess, thrown away. For our coast unit, which is a unit within APD that does work with particularly with this population, and ACS, yes, that information is being tracked as far as how many accept services and how many that don't. And I would point out, because I think it is relevant, VIP as well as an example with VIP, when they're providing, and VIP isn't necessarily with the unhoused population, it's more focused on reducing gun violence, but there are services that are being offered there. To answer the question though, the refusals are being tracked, but I guess what I want to say is you may have to go to several different departments to get that complete picture. That makes sense.
Okay. And Amir says, Commander, sir, the department is better at collecting and reporting quantitative data, but they really need to collect and report as the qualitative data. These discussions, like the one you were talking about with the Black Leadership Council, the department should put these interactions and community themes that you pull out in a report. Hearing it from the department is different than the qualitative piece being in a report.
I agree with that. I don't know. I don't know if there's a question there, but I like it, and I think Amir, you're right. So and I don't know if this. I hope I'm not off base, but a lot of these meetings, like especially with New Mexico Black Leadership Council, but other meetings that I've attended, where we're forming new partnerships and we're working to have a good working relationship. I think qualitative for me, it's what are the issues or action items, and maybe getting those action items and what we're doing. Again, a lot of them are not going to happen overnight, but as long as we're working towards what was identified and how we fix that whole process, if we can show that to the community, I definitely think that could go a long ways to show what our commitment is. So I'm going to take a screenshot of your of what you wrote. I like it.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else who has any questions before we move on to the next topic? Paul Sanchez said, how are the introductions going with the new city councilors and educating them about APD priorities?
Yes. So Southeast is unique because we have, we're technically, our area encompasses 3 different city council districts. So Councilor Isaac Benton, Councilor Pat Davis, and Tammy Feeblecorn. Those are the councilors that touch on the Southeast Area Command. I've had a historic and strong working relationship with Councilor Davis. I've met several times with Councilor Benton, and Councilor Benton has been around long enough to where he knows what's going on. But we do have one freshman counselor, Councilor Feeblecorn. She actually did come to a shooting review that we conducted here in the Southeast. I have engaged with her several times. She's been receptive too. One of the issues she brought up, she wanted to introduce a bill about car wash businesses. But there's a little bit of miscommunication, and she had no problem saying, well, let's table that. Let's focus on what we need to focus, because there was a little bit of misinformation with the crimes being associated to car wash businesses. So the best thing I could say is all of our city councilors here in the Southeast, I personally, and I'm just speaking for me as the commander of this area command, I have not had any resistance, or I can't get them to listen to me. I have pretty good, really good access to them if I need an issue. We just recently, we conducted a cleanup in the International District. I talked to Councilor Davis about it. He was there, and so I was appreciative of that. I thought it was pretty cool, like that he showed up, in support. So.
Okay. Well, it looks like that's it. Mike, would you like to go to the next segment? Oh, as a matter of fact, Deborah says, I would like to say that the fact that the Southeast Area Command answers their phone instead of having a recording to leave a message like other area command does. She likes that. So good job.
Can I add one thing on that? So I think everyone should be aware, and if you've driven by, I'm thankful to you, because it was your tax dollars, the bonds. The Southeast substation was in much need of a facelift. We are in the middle of that. The new building is almost done. Should be done in like about a month or two. Then we're going to move into that new building. Then they're going to bulldoze the existing building and start the second phase and do the second half of the building. When that happens, the construction, it's just going to be too much of a liability to where we're not going to be open. Now, we do have the Triangle substation down in Nob Hill, which is staffed right now, 7 days a week, but we're going to be moving shop to there. It's a very, very small substation, and I'm going to do my best to constantly remind people, especially as it gets closer, in our newsletter, on our website, and in all the neighborhood and community meetings that I go to, that for about, if we move in there in July, so if we have to shut down here in July, in a perfect world, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, if the final substation is done by January or February, that's still a good 6, 7, 8 month period that we're going to be closed here. So we'll have the small substation open in Nob Hill, but we will have to redirect people to either the foothills or Northeast. So I like the comment, and thank you. I'm going to pass that on to the admin staff here. But I will, Deborah, I will talk to the Northeast commander and Foothills commander and prep them when we do close. And I hope that they don't have messages. You just get a recording. So thank you. Well, and you know what? I actually have 7. No, I don't have 7. I have 5 admin staff here. We're very fortunate. We probably have the most admin staff in the city, but then again, we have the highest volume of calls and incidents and everything. So we are the busiest. I'd like to say we're, if not the busiest, we're one of the busier. So I'm fortunate enough to have 5 admin staff. The Triangle substation is so small that you can't fit more than 2 people in there. Maybe to help that, your last comment there, I may send someone to the Northeast and send someone to the foothills. So hopefully that can help. That can help.
Okay, Mike?